Sometimes the people we love most keep the biggest secrets, not out of cruelty, but out of love itself. This is a story about Harold Mitchell, a man who thought he knew everything about his wife of 58 years. It's about the letters that changed everything, arriving when it was almost too late. I'm telling you this story because maybe you have your own letters to write, or read, or forgive. Maybe you have a child who left and never came back. Maybe you have words stuck in your throat for 30 years. Harold's story isn't unique, that's why it matters. In small towns across America, in houses with too many empty rooms, there are Harold Mitchells looking at phones that don't ring. This story is for them, and for the children who might still pick up if they called. Harold's coffee had gone cold 3 times. The kitchen table was covered in envelopes, sorted by year like tax returns. His reading glasses kept fogging. He wasn't crying, just the October dampness getting inside. That's what he told himself. The letter in his hand shook slightly. 20s and 10. Daniel's Careful Architect Printing. Mom, the bone marrow transplant is scheduled for next week. They promise Dad will never know it's from me. The anonymous donor story is set. Robert thinks I'm crazy, risking complications for a man who hasn't spoken to me in 16 years. But he's still my father. I can hate him and save him at the same time. Those aren't the contradictions. They're just family. Harold set it down, picked up his pill bottle. Heart medication? The same heart that kept beating because his son, his gay son, whom he'd thrown out like garbage, had given him bone marrow when the leukemia came. Betty stood in his kitchen doorway. He'd forgotten she was there. "You done readin'?" she asked. "There's more." She pulled a shoebox from her tote bag. "These are the ones Margaret couldn't send her replies. She wrote them all. Harold, every single letter Daniel sent, she answered, just never mailed them after the first few." "Why?" Betty's face did that thing women do when they're deciding how much truth a man can handle. "Read them yourself." The first unsent reply was dated January 19, 6 months after Daniel left. "My dear Danny, your father tried to kill himself last night. Found him in the garage with his deer rifle. I've hidden it now. He doesn't remember the bourbon took care of that. But I remember wresting it from his hands. I remember him crying your name. He can't know you're safe and happy. If reconciliation fails, if you reject him, he'll try again and succeed. So I choose keeping you both alive, even apart, over losing one of you forever. Forgive me, Mom." Harold's chest tightened, not a heart pain, something worse. Memory flooding back. The weight of the rifle, Margaret screaming, the bourbon haze lifting to find her holding the gun, tears streaming. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "Keep reading." Betty said, October 1998. "Danny, met Robert today. You didn't tell me he was black. Not that it matters. Lord knows your father's prejudices are enough without adding that. But it explains why you keep him from the photos you send. Robert's wonderful, a pediatric nurse. His parents disowned him, too. You've built your own family. I'm so proud. Visited Emma's adoption agency with you both. That baby girl is lucky. Your father thinks I'm in Boston. He's sleeping in your old room again. Won't admit it, but I wash those sheets weekly." Harold looked up. "You knew about Robert?" "We all knew." "Harold? The whole damn neighborhood. You were the only one pretending not to know anything." More letters. 2001, Emma's first birthday. She has my mother's eyes. Even though that's impossible. God works mysteries sometimes. Your father built a dollhouse. Said it was for the church auction. But it's still in the garage. 3 stories, Victorian, perfect miniature of our house. Harold had forgotten the dollhouse. Spent 3 months on it. still in the garage rafters, collecting dust. 2005. Danny, your father drove to San Francisco last month. I followed him. He sat outside your office building for 3 hours, never went in. I watched from across the street. When you came out with Robert for lunch, he ducked down in his truck like a teenager. Stupid, stubborn man. But he drove 3,000 miles to not talk to you. That's something. Harold's hands shook. He remembered that trip, told Margaret he was visiting Army buddies. Drove straight through, 48 hours, pissing in bottles to make time. Sat outside Mitchell and Associates, his name on his son's building, and couldn't move. Why didn't she tell me she knew? Betty refilled his coffee. Same reason you didn't tell her you went. You Mitchells all suffer from terminal pride. 2010, after the transplant. Daniel in ICU with complications, infection from the donation. Your father thinks I'm shopping in Burlington. I'm holding your hand while you sleep. Robert hasn't left your side in 4 days. That man loves you like your father should have. Like your father does, actually. Just too twisted up to show it. Another letter, paperclip attached to a medical form, power of attorney. I'm giving it to you. Danny, the Alzheimer's is starting. Small things now, but it'll get worse. When I can't remember anymore, you decide for me. Don't tell your father. He'll just fight you. But someone needs to protect him from himself when I'm gone. Harold found the medical form, signed, notarized, 20. Margaret had been sick for 3 years before telling him. Emma's letter appeared next. Teenage handwriting. Grandma Maggie, Dad cries every October when you leave. He pretends he doesn't, but Robert told me, I want to meet my grandfather. Dad says he's dead, but I found him online. Harold Mitchell, Mitchell Construction, Willowbrook, Vermont, still has a landline listed. Should I call? Would he want to know I exist? Margaret's unsent reply. Sweet Emma, you have his hands. Strange to say about a girl, but true. Builder's hands, strong, capable, meant to create things. Yes, he'd want to know you but wanting and accepting are different things. Wait, let me prepare the ground. Soil needs tilling before seeds can grow. But the Alzheimer's took her before she could till anything. Harold stood, legs unsteady, walked to the window. His truck sat in the driveway, same spot as always, but everything else had shifted. There's more, Betty said gently. How can there be more? She handed him a manila envelope. This came yesterday, addressed to you. Return address. Mitchell and Associates, San Francisco. Inside, a single sheet, Daniel's handwriting. Dad, Robert has been monitoring your medical records. Unethical, but we needed to know you were alive. Your heart is failing. You need surgery. I'm coming home. We all are. You can throw us out, but we're coming. Robert is getting tested as a kidney donor. You'll need one soon. Don't argue. We arrive Thursday. Emma wants to meet her grandfather before it's too late. Mom can't protect us from each other anymore. Time to face what we broke. Daniel? Harold looked at Betty. Thursday's tomorrow. I know. The house is a mess. I'll help clean. Daniel's room. Leave it. He needs to see you kept it. Harold sank into his chair. 30 years of silence ending tomorrow. His son coming home with a husband, with a daughter, with an offer of a kidney from a stranger who loved Daniel better than Harold ever had. He picked up the last letter in Margaret's box. Her shaky handwriting, barely legible. Harold, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you found the letters. Good. Truth is, medicine tastes awful but cures what ails you. Daniel is coming. Let him. Emma needs a grandfather, shouldn't? You need a son. Robert is family accepted. I'm tired of keeping you all apart. The house is big enough for everyone. Fill it with noise again. Fight if you must. but fight together. Love, your Maggie. At the bottom, a postscript. The rifle is gone. Sold it. Don't need it anymore. You have reasons to live now. Harold folded the letter carefully. Outside, October rain began drumming against windows that hadn't been cleaned since Margaret died. Tomorrow, his son would walk through that door. Tomorrow, everything would change. He looked at Betty. Will you be here when they come? If you want. I want. She squeezed his shoulder. Then I'll be here. Harold picked up Daniel's letter again. Whoosh, just at the bottom. He'd missed a line. P.S. Emma has Mom's eyes. You'll see. The kitchen clock ticked toward midnight. In 12 hours, a Volvo with California plates would pull into his driveway. Harold Mitchell, 2 years old, Korean War veteran, stubborn as Vermont granite, sat at his kitchen table and did something he hadn't done in 30 years. He practiced saying his son's name. Daniel. Rough, like rusty gate hinges. Daniel. Clearer. Daniel. My son? Daniel. The words felt foreign in his mouth, but right, like coming home after a long, unnecessary war. Before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know which city you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. Harold's knees cracked when he stood. The kitchen linoleum was cold through his socks. He'd been sitting so long his feet had gone numb. Betty had left 10 minutes ago, or maybe an hour. Time moved wrong when your life unraveled. The stairs to Daniel's room stretched ahead, 17 steps. He'd counted them carrying Daniel up as a baby, down as a rebellious teenager, and never again after that August night in 1994. His palms stuck to the banister dust and old wood polish. Third step creaked, always had. Daniel used to avoid it when sneaking out. Seventh step, too. Harold had never fixed them. Some damage you keep. The doorknob was brass, tarnished where Margaret's hand had turned it. How many times had she come up here while Harold pretended not to notice? The room exhaled stale air when the door opened. Nirvana poster curling at one corner, basketball trophies from forced leagues, bed made with military corners, Margaret's doing. That last morning before Daniel left. The pillow still had an indent. Harold's chest went tight. Not cardiac tight, different. He lowered himself onto Daniel's desk chair. The wheels squeaked. A composition notebook sat in the drawer. Daniel's senior year journal, English class assignment. Harold had never opened it. Opened it now. March 15th, 1994. Dad found me and Tom kissing behind the gym. Didn't say anything, just walked away. Tom thinks we're safe. We're not. April 2nd. Dad signed me up for summer football camp. I'm not going. I'm done pretending. May 20th, 1994. Graduation tomorrow. Dad won't look at me. Mom keeps crying in the bathroom. Harold shut the notebook. His reflection caught in Daniel's mirror. Old man in a boy's room. Gray stubble. Yesterday's shirt. When had he gotten so old? The dollhouse was in the garage. Sheet covered, behind Margaret's gardening supplies. 3 stories of perfect Victorian detail. Gingerbread trim he'd carved with the dental pick. Real glass windows, working doors, even tiny copper gutters that would never see rain. He'd built it for Emma without knowing Emma existed. His phone rang, landline, kitchen. Harold moved faster than his knees appreciated. Mr. Mitchell. Young woman's voice. Not from around here. No Vermont flat A's. Speaking. It's Emma, your granddaughter. We're at a motel in Albany. Dad couldn't sleep. We're driving through the night. We'll be there by breakfast. Harold's throat closed. Mr. Mitchell. Your grandmother liked blueberry pancakes. I know. She made them for me every October. The line hummed with static. Or maybe that was Harold's blood in his ears. "Mr. Mitchell, there's something else. Dad doesn't know I'm calling, but you should know Robert's kidney. It's not just compatible, it's perfect. 6 markers. The doctors say that's like finding a needle in a whole field of haystacks." Harold gripped the receiver. "But here's the thing," Emma continued. "Robert's parents are trying to stop it. They're flying in from Houston. They say he can't give a kidney to the man who rejected their son-in-law." The kitchen clock showed 1:47 a.m. In 6 hours, Harold would face not just his son, but the parents of the man his son loved. Parents who'd also thrown their child away. Parents who now held Harold's life in their hands. Harold's fingers left sweat marks on the phone receiver. Emma's breathing came through the line, waiting. "Your grandmother never told me about Robert's parents." His voice caught on a gravel he didn't know was there. "Dad says they're religious, Southern Baptist, big church in Houston, the kind with a campus." Harold knew those churches, all forgiveness, until their son loved wrong. "Emma," he stopped. "What did you call a granddaughter you'd never met, sweetheart hen? What time will they land? 7:30? Burlington Airport. They'll rent a car. Be at your house by 9, maybe earlier if they speed." The kitchen fluorescent hummed. Harold's reflection in the dark window showed a ghost of himself, white stubble, hollow cheeks, yesterday's coffee stains on his collar. "Does Daniel know you're calling me?" "No. Robert's driving. Dad's pretending to sleep in the passenger seat, but his breathing's wrong. He's scared. Of me? Of hoping." Harold's free hand gripped the counter edge. The formica had a chip where Daniel had dropped a cast-iron pan, age 12, trying to make Harold breakfast for Father's Day. "Mr. Mitchell, I need to tell you something else. Robert's parents, the Chens, they have a lawyer with them. They're claiming next of kin rights to stop the donation. But Robert's 43 years old, 44, and yes, but they'll tie it up in court long enough that Emma's voice cracked. First sign she was 24, not 40. That your heart won't wait." Harold's chest squeezed. Just fear, not the cardiac thing. He knew the difference now. "Emma, listen, you tell Robert, you tell him not to fight his parents. Not for me." "He won't accept that." "Then don't tell him I said it." Silence. "Then you're exactly like Dad described. Stubborn, protective, even when it costs you everything." Harold's reflection blurred. Just the old window glass. A car door slammed outside. Harold's spine straightened, military instinct, decades old. Through the kitchen window, headlights cut across his driveway. "Emma, someone's here." "What? It can't be us. We're still 2 hours out." Harold moved to the front door, looked through the peephole Margaret had insisted on installing. A rental car, Texas plates, 2 figures on his porch. "It's them, Robert's parents." "That's impossible. The flight isn't until—" "They lied." Harold understood immediately. They told Robert the wrong time so they'd get here first. The doorbell rang. Harold's doorbell hadn't rung since Margaret's funeral. "Mr. Mitchell, don't answer it. Wait for us." "Can't do that." "Please." "Emma, I spent 30 years not answering. I'm done with that." Harold hung up. His hand shook on the deadbolt. The brass was cold. October cold. The kind that meant frost by morning. The porch light turned Dr. Chen and Mrs. Chen into yellow shadows. He was shorter than Robert. She had Robert's cheekbones, or Robert had hers. Both wore wool coats too nice for Vermont, dress shoes that would slip on wet leaves. "Mr. Mitchell." Dr. Chen didn't extend his hand. "We need to talk about our son." Harold stepped aside. They entered his house like people entering a contaminated area, careful, contained. Mrs. Chen's eyes swept the living room, stopped on Daniel's senior portrait on the mantel. That's your son. Not a question. Daniel? Yes. The one who corrupted Robert. Harold's hands made fists before his brain caught up. Your son's 44 years old. Nobody corrupted anybody. Dr. Chen sat without invitation in Harold's recliner. Margaret's recliner, actually. But Harold hadn't been able to move it. Mr. Mitchell, we're here to make you understand. Robert cannot donate his kidney. We've already contacted Burlington Medical Center. With what authority? Mrs. Chen pulled papers from her purse. Power of attorney, from when Robert had his appendectomy at 16. That was 28 years ago. Never revoked. Harold looked at the papers. Legal seals, notarized, Latin words he didn't understand, but he understood enough. You haven't spoken to your son in how long? 10 years, Mrs. Chen said. Since he chose your son over his family. And now you fly up here to save his kidney for what? Someone worthy, someone straight. Dr. Chen stood. Don't presume to judge us. You threw your son out too. Yes, and it was the stupidest thing I ever did. Yet here you are, alone, dying, needing our son's organ to live, our son who you've never met, who your son took from us. Harold's chest did the real thing this time. Pain shooting down his left arm. He gripped the doorframe. Mrs. Chen moved forward. Nurse, quick. Mr. Mitchell. I'm fine. You're not. You're gray. Pills. Kitchen. She went without hesitation. Doctor's wife. She knew the drill. Found the nitroglycerin. Brought water without being asked. The pill went under Harold's tongue. Bitter and familiar. Dr. Chen watched from the recliner. This is what we're trying to prevent. Robert giving a kidney to someone who might die anyway. Harold's vision sparkled at the edges. Through it, he saw car lights swing into the driveway. Too early to be Daniel, unless they'd driven 90 the whole way. The front door opened without knock or doorbell. Betty walked in carrying a coffee cake, saw the scene, stopped. Harold, company. Harold managed Robert's parents. Betty set the cake down, moved to Harold's side. You need the hospital. No. Stubborn fool. She looked at the Chens. I'm Betty, next-door neighbor. Known Harold 43 years. You're here to stop the kidney thing. Yes, Mrs. Chen said, because your son loves a man. Because our son is making a mistake. Betty laughed, not a nice laugh. Lady, I've been watching Harold make mistakes for 3 decades. You know what a mistake looks like. It looks like this old man dying alone in a house full of ghosts because he couldn't say I love you to his son. That's what you're choosing. Dr. Chen stood. We're not here for moral lectures from who? Another old woman, another parent who screwed up. Betty pulled out her phone. My son's gay too. Took me 15 years to accept it. 15 years I can't get back. But at least I figured it out before I died. Harold's chest eased. The nitro working? Or maybe just Betty being Betty. Through the window, dawn was starting that gray pre-light that made Vermont look like a black and white photograph. His phone rang. Kitchen again. Harold, that's probably Daniel, Betty said. Want me to? No. Harold walked to the kitchen, legs steadier now. The Chens followed. Everyone crowded into his small kitchen like some weird breakfast party. Dad. Daniel's voice. First time in 30 years. I'm here. Breathing. Road noise. Then Robert's parents are there, aren't they? Emma told us about the call. Yes. Are you okay? Yes. You're lying? Yes. A sound that might have been a laugh or sob. We're 20 minutes out. Don't let them leave. They're trying to stop the surgery. I know. Robert's having a panic attack about it. Emma's driving now. "Daniel, Dad, I need to say something before I lose my nerve. I love you. I've loved you even when I hated you, and Robert loves me enough to literally give you a piece of himself. Please don't let his parents take that away. Not from you, from him. He needs to do this." Harold looked at the Chens. Mrs. Chen was crying silently. The kind of crying you learned to do when you didn't want anyone to know. "Put Robert on," Harold said, shuffling. Whispers. Then a voice Harold had never heard. "Mr. Mitchell, this is Robert. Your parents are here." "I know. I'm sorry. Their parents. They're scared. I understand scared." Harold met Dr. Chen's eyes. "Tell me why you want to do this. The truth." Robert's breath shook through the phone. "Because I grew up watching my parents choose their church over their son every Sunday, choosing God over me, and I swore if I ever had a chance to choose love over fear, I would, even if it kills me, especially if it kills me." Harold's throat closed. He handed the phone to Dr. Chen. "Talk to your son." Dr. Chen took the phone like it might burn him. "Robert." Harold couldn't hear Robert's response, but he saw Dr. Chen's face change ice to water to something Harold recognized. The face of a father missing his son. Mrs. Chen took the phone next. Her crying went from silent to audible. "Baby, it's Mom." Betty guided Harold to a chair. The sunrise was coming now, pink across the mountains. In 20 minutes, Daniel would walk through his door. In 20 minutes, 30 years would collapse into one moment. Mrs. Chen was speaking Mandarin now, fast and tearful. Dr. Chen had his hand on her shoulder. Then Harold heard it tires on gravel. Through the window, a Volvo wagon, California plates dust-covered, parking behind the rental. The driver's door opened. Daniel stepped out. Daniel's hair was gray at the temples. That hit Harold first. His boy had aged into someone else's face. Heavier through the shoulders, wearing glasses now. Architect's hands that moved like Harold's when checking a doorframe. The passenger door opened. Robert emerged taller than expected, broader, moved like someone who lifted patients for a living. His hand went immediately to Daniel's lower back, not possessive, protective. The back door swung wide. Emma, Margaret's photo hadn't lied, the same forward-leaning walk, like the world better hurry up. She wore ripped jeans and a Stanford Law sweatshirt, glasses like Daniel's, work boots that had seen actual work. Harold's legs wouldn't move. His hand gripped the doorframe, paint ridges pressing into his palm. They stood at the edge of his driveway. 20 feet, might as well be 20 years. Daniel's mouth opened, closed. His hand reached for Robert's. Found it. Mrs. Chen pushed past Harold, phone still pressed to her ear, started down the porch steps. Dr. Chen followed. They met their son halfway across the lawn. Robert's face when he saw his mother, Harold knew that face, had worn it himself, somewhere under the bourbon and rage. "Ma!" Robert's voice carried across the dawn air. Mrs. Chen dropped the phone. Her hands went to Robert's face, touching like blind people red cheekbones, jaw, the new lines around his eyes. Dr. Chen stood apart. His dress shoes were soaked from the dew. "You look well." "Dad." Robert kept one hand on Daniel's back, the other caught in his mother's grip. "This is Daniel." Daniel extended his hand. Dr. Chen stared at it. Emma moved then, crossed the space between cars and porch in 6 strides, stopped just out of Harold's reach. "Hi, Grandpa." Harold's throat made a sound. Not a word. Emma stepped closer. She smelled like road coffee and Margaret's shampoo. How was that possible? Her arms went around him, thin but strong, like she knew how to hold broken things. Harold's hands hung useless until she whispered, "Hey, it's okay. I practiced this too." His arms closed around his granddaughter. First time, she was real, solid, here, over her shoulder. Daniel watched. His face did something complicated, anger fighting hope, fighting 30 years of scar tissue. Betty appeared with coffee mugs, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment of unbearable tension. Everyone inside. It's too cold for this drama. The kitchen couldn't hold 7 people. They pressed against counters, filled doorways. Daniel ended up by the sink, exactly where he'd stood the night Harold threw him out. His fingers traced the counter edge, found the chip from the dropped pan. You kept the house exactly the same. Your mother wouldn't let me change anything. Robert's parents bracketed their son like bodyguards. Emma poured coffee, knowing where the mugs lived like she'd been here before, because Margaret had described it all. Harold realized every October visit, describing this kitchen until Emma could navigate it blind. Mr. Mitchell? Chen's voice cut through the coffee pouring. We need to discuss the kidney. I know. Harold looked at Robert. Your parents think I'm not worth saving. That's not, Mrs. Chen started. It is, though. Robert's voice stayed level, nurse calm. You flew here on a red-eye with legal papers. You lied about your arrival time. You're trying to claim decision rights over a grown man's body because you'd rather see Daniel's father die than see your son save him. Dr. Chen's face flushed. You don't understand the medical risks. I'm a nurse. I see you 10 years. Pediatric now, but I did my time in adult critical care. I understand exactly the mortality rate. 3% for the donor, 15% for a recipient his age, 20% if we wait much longer. Robert recited like reading a chart. His creatinine is rising. Chito, his ejection fraction is dropping. We have maybe a 6-week window before he's too weak for surgery. Daniel's hand found Robert's again, their fingers interlaced, wedding rings clicking. Harold saw Dr. Chen notice the rings, saw his face change. You're married. 6 years legally, 10 years in every way that matters. In California, in America. Federal recognition since 20s. You missed our anniversary party last month. Mrs. Chen made a sound small, hurt. You had a party every year. Emma makes Dad's wontons, the ones you taught him when he was 12. Mrs. Chen's composure cracked. She reached for a chair, sat hard. Chen's hand went to her shoulder. Emma pulled something from her backpack, a photo album at worn edges, full of sticky notes. Grandma Maggie made this. Pictures from every visit. Look. She opened it on the table. Margaret and Daniel at Golden Gate Bridge. Margaret teaching Emma to drive. Margaret at Daniel and Robert's wedding, wearing the blue dress Harold had bought her for their 40th anniversary. Harold traced a photo Margaret, Daniel, Robert, and Emma at a restaurant. His family, all together, without him. She protected you, Daniel said quietly, from yourself. She knew if we tried and failed, I know what I'd have done. So she chose. Harold looked at his son, really looked. The anger was still there, but buried under something else. Exhaustion, maybe? Or grief? Or just time? I drove to San Francisco, Harold said. 2005, sat outside your building. I know. Mom told me. I came down to meet you. Harold's chest seized. You did. Watched from the lobby for an hour. You never got out of the truck. I couldn't. I know. Robert's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned. The hospital. They've received an injunction request. Everyone turned to Dr. Chen. I filed it last night before we flew out. Robert's face went blank, the kind of blank that meant fury. You're really going to do this? We're protecting you. From what? from loving my husband's father, from being the family you never let me have. Mrs. Chen stood. Robert, please. No. Robert pulled out his phone. I'm calling my lawyer. We'll fight this. With what money? Dr. Chen asked. Mine, Emma said. I've got Grandma Maggie's inheritance. She left me enough. Harold's legs went weak. He gripped the counter. Margaret left her money to Emma. Betty nodded. Changed her will in 20, and she still could. The room went sideways. Harold's pills were right there, but his hand wouldn't work right. Daniel moved fast. Automatic caught him before his knees buckled. Dad! Harold's weight sagged into his son. Daniel smelled like California sunscreen and wrong laundry detergent and 30 years gone. The pills, Harold managed. Robert was already there, fingers on Harold's pulse. Nitro. Yeah, the pill went under his tongue. Robert's fingers stayed on his wrist, counting, but Chen appeared with water. Dr. Chen pulled out a chair. They moved like medical people. All their conflicts suspended. Harold found himself sitting, Daniel on the one side, Robert on the other, checking vitals with professional efficiency. Hospital? Daniel asked. No. Robert and Harold said together. His pulse is stabilizing, Robert said. Color's coming back. Harold looked at Robert's parents. This is your son. This is what he does. Saves people. Chen's mouth tightened. We know what he does. Do you know he volunteers at the free clinic? That he and Daniel fostered 6 kids before adopting Emma? That he sends money to your church even though they condemned him? Robert's head snapped up. How do you know that? Your husband writes detailed letters. 30 years worth. I've been reading all night. Mrs. Chen moved closer. He wrote about us. Every letter, hoping you'd call. Every birthday, waiting, every Christmas. She crumbled. Dr. Chen caught her, held her while she sobbed into a suit jacket. Emma knelt by Harold's chair. Grandpa, there's something else. Something Grandma Maggie never told anyone. She pulled out another envelope. Older, yellowed. Harold recognized Margaret's mother's handwriting. What is that? Read it. Harold's fingers shook opening it. Inside, a birth certificate, not Daniel's, older. James Harold Mitchell, born 1951, died 1951. Harold's brother, a brother he'd never known existed. The birth certificate trembled in Harold's grip. The paper was soft at the creases, like it had been unfolded and refolded hundreds of times. James Harold Mitchell, his namesake? A brother who lived 6 days. Where did you find this? Emma's fingers twisted her Stanford ring. Grandma Maggie's safety deposit box. There's more. She pulled out a black and white photograph. His mother, young, holding a baby. His father beside her, hand on her shoulder, both their faces carved hollow with grief. Harold's throat closed. His mother had been pregnant when his father died. Had lost one James and been carrying another. That's why she never told me about his letter, Harold said. About him being, the word still stuck, like Daniel. Gay. Dad, the word is gay. Daniel's voice came from behind Harold's left shoulder. Your father was gay. Harold turned the photo over. His mother's writing, James and Sarah with baby James. Only photo. June 1951, 4 months before Harold was born. His parents had lost a child. Then his father had killed himself. Then Harold arrived into that wreckage. Jesus! Robert whispered. The trauma in this family. Dr. Chen cleared his throat. This is a private family matter. You should stay. Harold didn't look up from the photo. You're doing the same thing. Different generation. Same stupidity. Mrs. Chen's sob caught in her throat. We're not. You are. Harold set the photo on the table. His mother's young face stared up. My mother buried a baby, then buried her husband, then raised me alone. Never told me about either James, just erased them. And I did the same thing to Daniel. And you're doing it to Robert. Robert's phone buzzed again. He ignored it. Answer it, Harold said. It can wait. It's the hospital. Answer it. Robert stepped into the hallway. His voice carried back, professional and clipped, medical words Harold recognized from his own diagnosis: creatinine, bun, ejection fraction. Daniel's hand was still on Harold's shoulder. When had that happened? The weight felt familiar, like muscle memory from teaching him to plane wood. Same grip 30 years later. Dad, we need to talk about the surgery. Nothing to talk about if his parents stop it. Dr. Chen shifted. His dress shoes squeaked on the linoleum. The injunction will kill me. We all know that. That's not our intention. Intentions don't matter. Results do. Harold looked at Mrs. Chen. When Robert dies, because we all do. You want his last memories of you to be this, standing in my kitchen, trying to stop him from saving a life. She covered her face. Her shoulders shook, but no sound came out. Chen pulled her close. Robert returned, face tight. The hospital wants you admitted. Your numbers from yesterday's blood work, they're concerned. How did they get yesterday's blood work? Daniel asked. I had Betty take him in while you were driving. Robert didn't apologize. His bun is 45. Creatinine 2. He needs intervention soon. Harold stood. His knees held, barely. I'm not going to the hospital. Dad, not until this is settled. He faced Dr. Chen. Withdraw the injunction. I can't do that. Won't. Can't. Won't. Same result. Emma moved between them. Actually, there's another option. She pulled out her phone. Vermont law. Power of attorney. Expires if not renewed within 10 years unless the person is incapacitated. Robert, you've been legally competent this whole time. Your parents' claim is void. Dr. Chen's face flushed. You're not a lawyer yet? No, but Professor Martinez at Stanford Law is... He's on FaceTime. Say hi. Professor? She turned the phone. A man in a Berkeley sweatshirt waved from the screen. Good morning. I've reviewed the documents Ms. Mitchell sent. The 1996 power of attorney from Texas has no standing in Vermont or anywhere else. Frankly, Mrs. Chen grabbed the table edge. We were trying to protect him. From what, Mom? Robert stood in the doorway. From having a purpose, from being needed, from loving someone, from dying for people who threw you away. The words hung in the kitchen air. Betty poured more coffee, the sound loud in the silence. Steam rose between them, all like a curtain. Harold reached for the photo album Emma had brought, flipped through slowly. Margaret aging backwards with each page turn. Emma growing younger. Daniel's gray disappearing. Robert appearing, disappearing, reappearing as Harold moved through time. He stopped at a photo. Christmas, maybe 20. Margaret on a couch, Emma beside her, Daniel and Robert behind them. A tree in the corner, presents stacked, everyone wearing matching pajamas. Margaret's doing, definitely. This was our house, Daniel said, looking over Harold's shoulder. San Francisco. That's the living room I rebuilt. You kept the original molding. How can you tell? The corners, that's 1890s work. See the grain pattern? They don't mill wood like that anymore. Daniel leaned closer. His breath hit Harold's neck. You can see wood grain in a photo. When you've worked enough wood, you know it. Emma squeezed between them. Dad has your hands. Harold looked. She was right. Daniel's fingers on the couch back, same broad palms, same crooked left thumb from a hammer miss. Same way of spreading the fingers wide when resting. Robert's phone rang. Not a buzz, actual ringing. He frowned at the screen. "It's the hospital. Again." He answered, listened. His face changed. How long? No, he's here. We'll bring him in." Everyone turned. "Harold had a heart attack yesterday. Small one, but it caused damage. They just got the enzyme results." Daniel's hand tightened on Harold's shoulder. "Yesterday when—" Harold knew exactly when. "When I read about the bone marrow. You should have called 911, Betty said, "and missed today." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "Mr. Mitchell needs immediate care. I need my family." Harold looked at each face. All of it. Mrs. Chen's composure finally shattered completely. She sat hard in Margaret's chair, sobbing into her hands. Dr. Chen knelt beside her, whispering in Mandarin. Robert went to them, knelt too, took his mother's hands. "Ma, please." She looked at her son. Mascara streaked her cheeks. "We lost you. You threw me away. We thought your father's brother. He was like you, gay. He killed himself at 30. We thought if we pushed hard enough, you'd choose different." Robert's face changed. "Uncle William was gay. We found letters after he died. Love letters from his roommate." Der Chen's voice cracked. "We were trying to save you from that by driving me away. We were wrong." Der Chen stood, faced Harold. "We were wrong about everything." Harold's chest tightened again. Not cardiac, something else. Recognition, maybe? "We all were." Robert stood. "I'm still donating." "Robert, Dad, I'm doing this, with or without your blessing, but I'd rather have it." Dr. Chen looked at his wife. She nodded, tears still streaming. "You have it," Dr. Chen said. Emma whooped. Daniel sagged against the counter. Harold's knees went liquid. Betty caught one arm, Daniel the other. "Hospital," Robert said. "Now." They moved toward the door in a cluster. Harold stopped at the threshold, turned back. The kitchen table still held the letters, the photos, the birth certificate of a brother he'd never known. "Wait!" He walked back, slow but steady. Picked up one photo Margaret at Daniel and Robert's wedding, slipped it into his shirt pocket. "Okay." They filed out into October morning, 3 cars in his driveway, California plates, Texas plates, Vermont plates on Betty's ancient Subaru. "I'll drive, Dad," Daniel said. "Like hell," Harold said. "Robert's the nurse. He drives away." "I'll navigate," Emma said. Mrs. Chen stepped forward. "We'll follow." Harold stopped at the Volvo's passenger door, looked back at his house. Daniel's window on the 2nd floor, curtains still crooked from 1994. The kitchen window, where Margaret had watched for Daniel every day for 30 years. The garage, where he'd built a dollhouse for a granddaughter he didn't know existed. "Mr. Mitchell!" Robert stood by the driver's door. "We need to go." Harold nodded, started to get in, stopped. "Daniel!" His son froze halfway to the back door. "Yeah, I'm proud of you." Daniel's face crumpled. "Dad, the buildings, your company, Emma, Robert, all of it. I'm proud." Daniel crossed the space between them in 2 strides. His arms went around Harold, tight and desperate. Harold's arms remembered how to hold his son, muscle memory, 30 years dormant. They stood like that in the driveway, October sun warming them, until Robert said, "I'm sorry, but we really need—" They broke apart, got in the car. Robert drove smooth and fast, taking corners like someone who'd driven emergencies before. Harold pulled out the wedding photo. Margaret smiled up at him, frozen in time, keeping her secret, even in stillness. "Your mother visited every October for Emma's birthday. Every year until the Alzheimer's." Daniel confirmed from the back seat. 29 trips. 29. Harold did the math. 29 October flights. 29 lies about visiting her sister, 29 birthdays he'd missed. "There's something else," Emma said from behind Robert. "Something Grandma never told any of us." Harold turned. Emma held another envelope. "Where do you keep finding these?" Grandma Maggie hid letters everywhere. This was in her jewelry box. "It's addressed to all of us. Dated last year, when she could still write a little." She opened it. Inside, a single paragraph in Margaret's shaky handwriting. "My loves, if you're reading this together." Then Harold found the first letters. "Good. There's one more thing. Harold, you have another son, Daniel. You have a brother, born Ned. I gave him up for adoption. Never told anyone. His name is Michael. He lives in Boston. He's been looking for you." Harold's vision went black at the edges. Robert pulled over fast, shoulder gravel crunching. "Dad," Daniel's voice, distant. "Another son, 19th, the year after Daniel. The year Harold had been in Vietnam for 6 months. Emergency deployment. Margaret alone, pregnant. 22 years old, the photo in his pocket." Margaret's smile at the wedding suddenly looked different, like a woman who'd spent 50 years holding impossible secrets. "Dad, breathe." Harold couldn't. Another son, looking for them. His phone rang. Betty's number. Daniel answered. "Betty, we're pulled over." "Dad's what? Who now?" Daniel's face went white. "There's a man at the house. Says his name is Michael. Says he's Dad's son." Robert's hands gripped the wheel. Nobody moved. The Volvo's engine ticked in the morning cold. Harold's pulse hammered in his ears' wrong rhythm, skipping beats. "Turn around." Harold's voice came out, sandpaper rough. "Dad, you need the hospital." "Turn the damn car around." Robert met his eyes in the rearview mirror. "Your troponin levels." "I don't care about my troponin levels. There's a stranger at my house claiming to be my son." Daniel twisted in the back seat. "Dad, if Mom gave up a baby, your mother didn't give up anything. She wouldn't. She couldn't." But even as Harold said it, he remembered 19's his emergency deployment, 6 months in Da Nang when they needed experienced sergeants. Margaret crying at the airport, holding baby Daniel, something wrong in her face he'd attributed to fear. Robert turned the car around. Gravel sprayed. Mrs. Chen's rental followed, then Betty's Subaru. Harold's chest squeezed. He fumbled for the nitro. Daniel reached over the seat, helped him get the bottle open. The pill dissolved under his tongue, bitter and familiar. "Describe him here," Harold said into the phone. Betty was still on the line. "Tall, maybe 6'2", dark hair going gray, wearing a Red Sox jacket. What else?" "Harold, he looks like you. Same nose go, same way of standing, weight on the left foot." The house came into view. A blue Camry with Massachusetts plates sat behind Harold's truck. A man stood on the porch, hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched against the cold. Robert parked. Harold's door wouldn't open child locks. Daniel had to let him out. The man turned. Betty was right. Same nose, broken and reset wrong from Harold's boxing days. Same heavy brow. But the eyes were different. Margaret's eyes. That particular shade of green that changed with the light. "Mr. Mitchell," Harold couldn't answer. His throat had closed completely. The man stepped forward. "I'm Michael Davidson. I was born Michael Mitchell, but the adoption—" "You're lying. I have documentation. Everyone has documentation today." Harold gripped the car door. The metal was cold, real, solid. "My wife would never." December 15th, 1972. Boston General Hospital. Mother listed as Margaret O'Brien Mitchell. Father listed as Harold James Mitchell. Deployed overseas. Harold's knees buckled. Daniel and Robert caught him, one on each side. "Inside," Robert ordered. "Now." They half carried Harold to the porch. Michael stepped aside, eyes tracking every movement, up close. The resemblance was worse. Not just the nose, the hands, too. Carpenter's hands, wide palms, scarred knuckles. Betty had coffee ready, always coffee, like caffeine could fix everything. They arranged Harold on the couch. Robert took his pulse. Daniel loosened his collar. Emma ran for water. Michael stood in the doorway between rooms, not entering, not leaving. "You were deployed," he said. She was 22, with a 1-year-old. The apartment in Southie had rats. The landlord wouldn't fix the heat. She couldn't do it alone. Harold's memory lurched. The apartment on K Street, the radiator that clanged but never warmed. Daniel's croup that winter, Margaret's letters about midnight steam baths trying to help him breathe. She never told me. The adoption was supposed to be closed, but Massachusetts opened records in 2007. I've been looking since then. Dr. Chen and Mrs. Chen entered, confused by the scene. Another stranger, another crisis. They stood by their son, protective, finally acting like parents. "Who is this person?" Dr. Chen asked. "My brother, apparently," Daniel said. The word came out sharp, acidic. Michael's face tightened. "I didn't know about you. The records only had birth parents' names." "How convenient." "Daniel," Robert warned. "No, this is bullshit. Mom kept me secret from Dad for 30 years, and him secret from everyone for 50. What else didn't we know?" Emma pulled out more papers from Margaret's box. "How many secrets had one woman kept? There's more." "Of course there is," Daniel said. "The paper was a receipt. Boston General Hospital, December 14th, not to psychiatric hold, 72 hours. Harold grabbed it. Margaret had tried to kill herself the day before giving birth. "Postpartum psychosis," Michael said quietly. "It's in the medical records. She was hallucinating, thought the rats were eating the baby you. Daniel, thought the only way to save you was to die." Harold's chest exploded. Real pain this time, not memory. Lightning from sternum to jaw. His left arm went numb. "Hospital," Robert commanded. "Now, no arguments." But Harold couldn't move. Another son, Margaret in psychiatric hold, suicide attempt. The rats in Southie, all while he was 10,000 miles away, playing soldier, thinking she was fine because her letters said so. They carried him to the car. Michael followed, uninvited but not rejected. 3 cars became 4, a convoy of damaged families racing toward Burlington Medical Center. Harold drifted. Robert's voice stayed steady, calling ahead to the ER. Daniel held Harold's wrist, fingers on the pulse like Margaret used to do when he had nightmares. "Tell me about the buildings," Harold managed. "What?" "Your buildings, the ones you designed. Tell me." Daniel's grip tightened. "The veterans' housing was first 6 stories, 40 units, balconies facing east because you always said morning sun prevents mold." "You remembered that?" "I remembered everything you taught me. Even when I hated you, I remembered." The hospital appeared. Robert bypassed the main entrance, went straight to the ambulance bay. People in scrubs were waiting. They transferred Harold to a gurney before he could protest. "Family?" a nurse asked. "We all are," Emma said. The nurse looked at the crowd. Daniel, Robert, Emma, Mr. and Mrs. Chen, Betty, and now Michael hanging back. "All of you. Every damn one," Harold said. They wheeled him fast through corridors that smelled like floor wax and fear, into a room with machines, tubes, wires. Someone cut his shirt off. Electrodes on his chest, cold and sticky. IV in his arm. sharp then dull ache. Dr. Chen spoke to Harold's doctor in medical terminology. Robert translated for the others. Acute coronary syndrome, elevated markers, possible stent needed. Through it all, Harold watched Michael in the doorway, this stranger with his nose, Margaret's eyes, Carpenter's hands. "You build?" Harold asked. Michael stepped closer. "Boats. In Gloucester. Learned from my adoptive father, Petuka. Boats are just houses that float." That's what he used to say. Daniel made a sound, anger or grief or both. "This is insane. We're having a family reunion in the cardiac unit with a brother who appeared out of nowhere." "Not nowhere," Michael said. "Boston. I've been 3 hours away your whole life." "Mom knew. The agency sent letters when I turned 18, asking if she wanted contact. She never responded." Harold thought about Margaret getting those letters, hiding them, adding another secret to her collection, all while making pot roast, doing laundry, pretending everything was normal. A doctor entered with forms. "Mr. Mitchell, we need to discuss the procedure." "What procedure?" "Catheterization, possibly stents. Your EKG shows significant blockage." "When?" "Now. We're prepping the cath lab." Harold looked at his sons, both of them. Daniel's face tight with 30 years of anger. Michael's carefully blank, a stranger's polite distance. "If I die." "You're not dying," Robert interrupted. "If I die," Harold continued, "you two figure this out, whatever this is." "Dad." "Daniel, he's your brother." "Michael, he's your whatever. Just figure it out." They wheeled him toward the elevator. His family followed. When had they become his family, Robert's parents? Who'd tried to stop everything? Michael, who shouldn't exist. Emma, who'd never met him before today. In the elevator, Harold's vision grayed at the edges. He heard Margaret's voice, clear as 30 years ago. "Harold, you stubborn fool, don't you dare die before fixing this." "I'm trying, Baggy," he whispered. "What?" Daniel leaned closer. "Your mother? Thought I heard." The elevator doors opened. The cath lab was cold, bright, all steel and purpose. They transferred him to another table. Someone said something about sedation. "Wait." Harold grabbed the nearest hand, Michael's. He realized, "Your adoptive parents. Good people. The best. Dad died last year. Mom's in memory care." "You have kids." "2 daughters. Teenagers. More grandchildren. More family." Harold didn't know existed. The anesthesia mask approached. Harold had one more question. The one that mattered. Why now? Why find us now? Michael's grip tightened. My dad, my adoptive dad. His last words were, "Find your people." He knew I'd been looking. Knew I needed to know where I came from. The mask covered Harold's face. Sweet chemical smell. The world went soft. The last thing Harold heard was Daniel's voice. How many more secrets did Mom take with her? Then nothing. Black, except Margaret's laugh, young and bright, the way it was before everything broke. "Oh, Harold, you haven't found them all yet." Voices leaked through the medication fog. Harold's eyelids weighed 50 pounds each. His mouth tasted like copper pennies and rubber tubing. 3 stents, 90% blockage in the LAD. Robert's voice, professional, explaining to someone. "The Widowmaker." Dr. Chen said. Harold's eyes cracked open. Fluorescent light stabbed into his skull. The room swam, reformed. ICU. Machines beeping. His chest felt like someone had parked a truck on it. Daniel's face appeared above him. Red-rimmed eyes. 2-day stubble. Same expression from when he was 7, and Harold had fallen off a roof terrace trying to look brave. "Dad!" Harold's throat wouldn't work. Daniel grabbed a cup with a straw, held it to Harold's lips. The water hurt going down, but loosened something. "How long?" 6 hours. The surgery was complicated. Robert appeared on Harold's other side. 3 stents? You coded twice on the table. Harold processed that. His heart had stopped. Twice. And here he was, discussing it like weather. Michael, waiting room, Daniel said. His jaw tightened on the name. With his documentation, birth certificate, adoption papers, DNA test he did last month when he found Mom's name. You believe him. Doesn't matter what I believe. DNA doesn't lie. Betty entered, carrying Harold's duffel bag. Brought you clothes, pajamas, your pills from home. She set it on the chair, unzipped it, and this. She pulled out a leather journal, Harold's journal, from his nightstand drawer, the one nobody was supposed to find. Betty, Daniel needs to read it. No, but Daniel already had it, was opening to a random page. His face changed as he read. June Paint drove by Danny's apartment in Boston, saw him through the window, eating dinner with some man, laughing, happy, turned around and drove home. 6 hours round trip to see him laugh. Daniel flipped pages. October 2nd, 2000. Margaret's in San Francisco again. House is too quiet. Slept in Danny's room. Dreamed he came home. Woke up alone. More pages. March 10th, 2000. Saw 2 men holding hands at the grocery store. Wanted to tell them it gets easier. But I am the wrong person to say that. I am the one who makes it harder. Harold's chest monitor beeped faster. Robert adjusted something on the IV pole. December 24th, 2010. Daniel saved my life. My bone marrow is his bone marrow now. My blood cells carry his he's literally inside me, keeping me alive. And I can't even say thank you. Daniel's voice cracked. He kept reading. April 15th, 2020. Margaret doesn't remember Daniel anymore. I show her pictures. She asked who the handsome man is. I say our son. She says we don't have children. I say you're right. We don't, because I threw ours away. The journal shook in Daniel's hands. Robert took it, set it aside. We need to discuss the kidney situation, Robert said. Your numbers. I'm not taking your kidney. It's a perfect match. 6 markers. Don't care. Mrs. Chen entered with coffee. Her makeup was gone, hair disheveled. She looked older, more human. Mr. Mitchell, my son wants to do this. Your son barely knows me. He knows enough. She sat on the bed's edge, something Harold's own wife wouldn't have done. Too familiar, too forward. We lost 10 years with Robert because we were afraid. You lost 30 with Daniel. Don't make our mistakes. Dr. Chen added, the success rate with a 6-marker match is 92%, and the risk to Robert, minimal. Robert said, define minimal. 3% chance of complications. 3% of killing yourself for someone who insulted your existence. Robert's face stayed neutral, nurse face, the kind that dealt with dying children without cracking. You didn't insult my existence. You were protecting yourself from history, repeating. Harold looked at Daniel. Tell him what? The truth about your health, the reason you're really here. Daniel's face went white. Robert turned to his husband. Danny. Daniel's hand found Robert's. Their wedding rings clicked. The bone marrow donation. In 2010, there were complications we didn't tell Mom about. What kind of complications? Secondary cancer? Lymphoma? Stage 2? The room went silent, except for machine beeps. Robert's face cycled through shock, anger, devastation. Back to that terrible nurse neutral. When were you diagnosed? 6 months ago. 6 months? You've known for 6 months. I didn't want to worry you until what? Until you were dying. Robert pulled away. We don't keep secrets. That was the rule. No secrets. Like you secretly monitoring Dad's medical records. That's different. How Harold watched his son's marriage crack in real time. 10 years of trust fracturing in his ICU room. Emma appeared in the doorway, phone in hand. "The lawyers are here. About the kidney donation." "There's no donation," Harold said. "Not from Robert. Not with Daniel sick." "I'm not dying," Daniel said. "Yet," Harold said. "But we all are. Just a matter of timing." Michael entered behind Emma. He'd been crying, eyes swollen, nose red. In his hand, another envelope. "What fresh hell is this?" Daniel asked. "Not hell." Michael approached Harold's bed. "I found this in Mom's safety deposit box. Your mom, our mom. It's dated last month." Harold's blood went cold. "Margaret's been dead 6 months. The bank says someone accessed the box 2 weeks ago, used her key." "That's impossible." Michael opened the envelope. Inside, Margaret's handwriting. But not shaky, not confused. Clear and strong like 20 years ago. How? Betty made a sound. Everyone turned to her. "Betty?" Harold's voice came out strangled. She had good days, even at the end. Moments of perfect clarity. "I helped her write letters, helped her get to the bank." "You lied to me." "She asked me to." Harold grabbed the letter. The date was October 1st, 24. 2 weeks ago. "Harold, if you're reading this," the boys found each other. "Good, Michael. You were wanted. I need you to know that. Giving you up broke me. But keeping you would have broken us all." "Daniel, your cancer isn't from the donation. Check your medical records. The oncologist will confirm different cell line entirely. You were always going to get sick. You saved your father for nothing, or for everything, same difference. Harold, take the kidney. Take it from Robert, who loves Daniel the way you should have. Let him save you. You men and your pride. It'll kill you all. There's one more thing. I'm not dead." Harold's heart monitor went crazy. Robert reached for the call button, but Harold grabbed his wrist. "Keep reading," Harold said. "I'm at St. Mary's Memory Care in Montpelier, room 40. Betty's been visiting. Everyone else thinks I died. It was easier than watching you watch me forget you. But I remember now. These moments of clarity come and go. If you're reading this, I'm having a good day. Come now, all of you. Margaret, P.S. Harold, I was never visiting my sister in Boston." The room exploded. Daniel yelling, Robert demanding answers from Betty, Emma on her phone calling St. Mary's, during Mrs. Chen confused in Mandarin, Michael standing frozen. Harold pulled out his IV. "What are you doing?" Robert tried to stop him. "Going to see my wife. You just had cardiac surgery. Don't care." Harold swung his legs off the bed. The room tilted. His chest screamed, but he stood. "Dad, this is insane. Everything about this is insane. My wife faked her death. My son I didn't know existed is here. My son I threw out has cancer, and everyone's been lying to everyone for decades." He took a step. His knees held. "St. Mary's is 40 minutes away," Betty said quietly. "Then we better get started." Daniel grabbed Harold's arm. "Dad, if this is real, it's her handwriting. Someone could have—" "It's her? I know her. Even dead, I know her." Mr. Chen stepped forward. "Mr. Mitchell, medically speaking, I should be dead 3 times over. Medically speaking, none of this should be happening." Harold looked at each face, his sons, his daughter-in-law, grandson-in-law, Robert's parents. Betty, keeper of impossible secrets. "Anyone coming?" They all moved at once. Betty pulled car keys from her purse. "I'll drive. I know where she is." "You've been visiting her," Harold said. "Not a question. Every Tuesday. Today's Thursday. She was clear on Tuesday, asking for you. All of you." Harold's chest caved in. Not heart attack this time, just grief. 6 months thinking she was dead. 6 months of empty bed, empty chair, empty house. They helped him into a wheelchair hospital policy. Robert insisted. Down the elevator, through the lobby, into the October afternoon. 4 cars again. A funeral procession in reverse. Harold sat in Betty's Subaru. Daniel beside him. Michael in the back. The others followed. How? Harold asked Betty. The pneumonia was real, but she recovered. The memory care facility had an opening. She asked me to tell everyone she died. Why? Because she remembered you watching her forget. The look on your face when she didn't recognize you. She said dying was kinder than making you watch her mind disappear completely. The road curved through Vermont hills. Leaves fell like tears across the windshield. Harold felt in his pocket. The wedding photo was still there. Margaret smiling, holding secrets even then. Betty, Harold said, is she really clear today? Betty's knuckles went white on the wheel. Betty, she was clear Tuesday. But these windows, they close fast. Harold nodded. 40 minutes to Montpelier, 40 minutes to see if his wife remembered him. His phone buzzed. Text from Emma. Following in Robert's cars. Mary's confirms Mitchell in room 40. Status today. Alert and oriented X3. Harold didn't know what X3 meant, but alert was good. Oriented was good. Unless she saw him and didn't recognize him, unless the window had already closed. Daniel reached over, took Harold's hand, first time since he was 12. She'll remember you, Dad. How do you know? Because even with Alzheimer's, she never forgot to circle October 15th on every calendar, Emma's birthday. She remembered what mattered. Harold squeezed back. His son's hand, strong and sure, Carpenter's hands, even though he'd become an architect. The sign appeared set Mary's memory care, next right. Betty's turn signal clicked like a countdown. Harold's chest tightened. What if she didn't know him? What if she did? Which was worse. Then he saw the window. 3rd floor, corner room. A figure standing there, watching the parking lot, watching for them. White hair in a bun, blue dress, the one he'd bought for their anniversary. Hand pressed to the glass, Margaret, alive, waiting. She raised her other hand to wave. Then her face changed, confusion replacing recognition. The hand against the glass became support, not greeting. The window was closing. The memory care facility's doors hissed open. Disinfectant and floor wax hit Harold's nostrils. Someone's TV played too loud down a corridor, game show applause echoing off linoleum. The receptionist looked up. Young, pierced nose, recognized Betty immediately. She's asking for him again. We're here, Betty said. All of you. The girl counted heads. That's a lot of excitement for one resident. She can handle it, Harold said. Though his legs shook, the elevator was too small. Harold, Daniel, Michael, and Betty squeezed in. The others would follow. 3rd floor, the button worn smooth from thousands of touches. Harold's reflection in the elevator door's hospital gown under Betty's borrowed jacket. Surgical tape on his neck, skin gray as old newspaper. He looked like death approaching. The doors opened to a hallway of closed doors, each with a memory box beside it, photos, trinkets, anchors to disappearing selves. Room 44 had baseball cards. Room 40 a rosary. Room 40 nothing. Room 40 Margaret's memory box held 3 things: their wedding photo, Daniel's baby picture, and a dried corsage from Emma's prom that Harold didn't know she'd attended. The door was cracked. Harold pushed it open. Margaret stood by the window, back to them. Her spine curved more than before. Her hands gripped the windowsill. The blue dress hung loose. She'd lost 20 pounds. Maggie. She turned. Her face cycled through expressions: confusion, recognition, fear, back to confusion. "I'm sorry, I don't—" She stopped, stared at Daniel. "Danny, Mom, you're old." She touched his gray temples. "When did you get old?" "While you were dead," Daniel said. She laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, that Betty's idea, wasn't it, Betty?" "Margaret's idea entirely," Betty corrected. Margaret's eyes found Michael. Her face changed completely. Both hands went to her mouth. "My baby—" Michael nodded. Margaret crossed to him in 3 strides, hands on his face like Mrs. Chen had done with Robert. "You look like Harold. God help you. You look just like him." "Is that bad?" "Depends on the day." Then she saw Harold, really saw him. The surgical tape, the gray skin, the way he leaned on the doorframe. "What did you do?" "Heart surgery, stents." "When?" 6 hours ago. "You left AMA to come here." "How do you know what AMA means?" 58 years married to a stubborn fool, you learned the terminology. Her clarity was perfect. Complete, the window wide open. Harold stepped toward her. His knees buckled. Daniel and Michael caught him, one on each side, their first act as brothers. They got him to the chair by her bed. Margaret knelt in front of him, hands on his knees, this close. He could see the progression: skin thinner, bruises from IVs, the slight tremor in her left hand. "You were really going to let me think you were dead. You were really going to die without reconciling with Daniel." "I tried. I drove to San Francisco and sat in your truck like a coward." "Yes." She looked at Daniel. "You have his cancer. How did you—" "Mothers know." She turned to Michael. "You have children, 2 daughters. Names, Sarah and Margaret." Her composure cracked. "You named one after me?" "My adoptive mom insisted. Said any woman who could give up a baby to save another child deserved remembrance." Emma entered with Robert and his parents. Margaret stood, swaying slightly. "Emma, sweet girl." Emma ran to her, caught her in a hug that lifted Margaret off her feet. "Grandma Maggie, you're alive." "Temporarily, like everyone." Robert approached. "Careful, Mrs. Mitchell." "Margaret or Ma, your choice." Robert's face broke. "Mom, then—" She pulled him close, whispered something in his ear that made him sob. Dr. Chen cleared his throat. "Mrs. Mitchell, we owe you an apology. We tried to stop Robert from donating." "I know. Betty told me to. You're idiots, but your parents, same thing, usually." Harold watched his wife work the room, even diminished, even dying by degrees. She commanded everything, but her left hand shook worse now. Her eyes kept losing focus. "The window's closing," he said quietly. She looked at him. "I know. I can feel it, like fog coming in." "How long? Minutes? Maybe an hour?" Daniel knelt beside Harold's chair. "Mom, why didn't you tell us any of it?" "Michael, the suicide attempt. Dad's father—" Margaret's mouth worked. She looked at Betty, confused. "You were explaining," Betty prompted, "about keeping secrets." "Secrets?" Margaret's voice changed, lighter, younger. "Harold doesn't like secrets." "Mom?" Daniel tried. She looked through him. "Where's the baby? I need to feed the baby." "Mom, I'm here." "Daniel? Daniel's at school, kindergarten, Mrs. Peterson's class." The window was closing faster now. Harold could see it in her eyes, the present sliding away, replaced by random fragments of 50 years. Michael stepped forward. "Mom." She tilted her head. "Do I know you?" "I'm Michael, your son. I don't have a—" She stopped, grabbed her stomach. "The baby. They took the baby. Harold doesn't know." "Can't tell Harold." Harold stood, ignoring his body's protests. Took Margaret's hands. "I know about the baby. It's okay. He'll leave me if he knows." "I won't leave." She studied his face. You look like my husband. Older, though. Harold's in Vietnam. He came home. Did he? Good. Tell him I'm sorry about the baby. Had to give him away. The rats. You see, they were eating the walls. Harold's chest caved. She was sliding into 1972, the breakdown, the psychiatric hold. Emma stepped forward with her phone, started playing something, music, their wedding song, The Way You Look Tonight. Margaret went still. Her eyes cleared. Harold, I'm here. Really here, not dead, not a dream. Really here. I've been practicing something. She took a breath. I'm sorry for all the secrets, for the lies, for choosing fear over truth. Maggie, let me finish while I can. Daniel, I'm sorry I kept you apart. Michael, I'm sorry I gave you away. Harold, I'm sorry for everything. Don't. I'm dying. Harold, brain cells disappearing like snow melting. But right now, this second, I know you. I know all of you. And I need to say this, every secret was love. Twisted, broken, backwards love. But love. Her left hand jerked. Her face changed again. Where am I? St. Mary's, Betty said gently. Your room? I want to go home. Harold gripped her hands tighter. Where's home? Maggie. She looked at him, through him, past him. Then her eyes focused one last time. You're home. Then the window slammed shut. Her face went blank, pleasant, the expression of someone meeting strangers. I'm sorry, visiting hours are over. Mom. Daniel's voice cracked. I don't have children, never married. Nice to meet you all, though. Harold's legs gave out. He hit the floor hard, knees cracking on linoleum. Daniel and Robert pulled him up, but Margaret had already turned to the window, humming something tuneless. A nurse appeared. She needs rest now. This happens. The clarity comes and goes. When will she be clear again? Harold asked. Could be tomorrow. Could be never. They stood, broken, watching Margaret watch the parking lot, waiting for someone she'd forgotten she was waiting for. Then she turned, looked straight at Harold, and said in a child's voice, Daddy, is that you? Mommy said you were dead, but I knew you'd come back. Harold's blood went ice. Margaret's father had died when she was 7, but that wasn't what stopped his heart. Behind Margaret, in the mirror on her closet door, Harold saw a reflection that shouldn't exist. A young woman, dark-haired, wearing a 1970s nurse uniform. The woman looked exactly like Emma. Harold blinked. The reflection vanished. Just Emma standing behind him now, staring at her phone screen. Grandpa, you okay? Harold's mouth opened, but nothing came out. The floor tilted. Robert caught him before he fell again. We're going back to the hospital, Robert announced. No, not negotiable. Robert's nurse voice brooked no argument. You're gray, your pulse is thready, and you just saw something that made you look like death. Margaret had returned to humming, fingers tracing patterns on the window glass. The nurse guided her to a chair, gentle but firm. She needs to rest, the nurse said. Sometimes after clarity episodes, they sleep for days. Harold let them lead him out. In the hallway, he turned to Emma. Your biological mother, what was her name? Emma frowned. Rosa Delgado, from Guatemala. Why? Harold's chest loosened slightly. Not who he'd seen in the mirror then. Just exhaustion. Surgery drugs. The mind playing tricks. They made it to the parking lot. Harold's reflection in car windows looked corpse-like. Daniel and Michael flanked him. Not quite touching, but ready. Back to Burlington Medical, Robert ordered Betty. I'm not taking his kidney tucked, Harold said. We'll discuss it when you're stable. Nothing to discuss. Mrs. Chen spoke from behind them. Mr. Mitchell. May I say something?" Harold turned. She stood with her husband, both looking older than when they'd arrived this morning. Was it still the same day time had gone elastic? "My father needed a kidney when I was 30, she said. "I was a match. My husband, Robert's father, forbade it. Said I needed to save my kidney for our future children. My father died waiting on the list." Dr. Chen's hand found his wife's shoulder. "I've regretted it for 14 years, she continued. "Robert knows this. It's why he wants to donate, to not carry my regret." Harold looked at Robert. "That true?" "Partly. Also because Daniel needs you alive. Emma needs her grandfather, and I need to not wonder what if for the rest of my life." They reached the cars. Harold's legs buckled getting in. His chest felt like someone was sitting on it. The nitro bottle appeared in Daniel's hand. "Under your tongue!" The pill dissolved, bitter and familiar. Harold's vision sparkled at the edges. Betty drove fast but smooth. Daniel kept 2 fingers on Harold's pulse. Michael sat silent in the back, a stranger watching family dynamics he'd never been part of. "Tell me about your daughters," Harold said to Michael. "Sarah's 17, wants to be a marine biologist. Maggie's 15, she builds things." "Builds what?" "Furniture. Mostly. Started with dollhouses. Moved to real pieces. Has my adoptive dad's workshop." Harold turned to look at him. Same broken nose, same heavy brow, but softer somehow, like Harold's face without the anger carved into it. "You were lucky." "Good parents. The best. Mom's still alive, but doesn't remember much. Alzheimer's. Like—" He stopped. "Like Margaret." "Yeah." They pulled into Burlington Medical's emergency bay. The same team was waiting. Word traveled fast when cardiac patients went AMA. "Couldn't stay away?" the nurse asked. "Missed your sparkling personality?" Harold managed. They got him back into the same ICU room, same monitors, same IV, same everything, except now his whole family crowded in. The nurse tried to limit visitors. 2 at a time. That's policy. "They stay," Harold said. "Sir, all of them stay, or I leave AMA again." The nurse looked at Robert for help. Robert shrugged. "He means it." She threw up her hands and left. Dr. Chen studied Harold's monitors. "Your numbers are worse. Don't care. You need that kidney within days, not weeks." "Not from Robert." Daniel stepped forward. "Then from me?" Everyone turned. "I'm a match, too. Not as perfect as Robert, but good enough." "You have cancer," Harold said. "Lymphoma? Treatable. Survival rate of 80%. No." "Dad?" "I said no. I'm not taking organs from either of you." Emma pulled out her laptop. "Actually, there's another option." She turned the screen toward them. "A medical database, donor registry. Michael's a match, too. 4 markers. Not perfect, but workable." Harold looked at Michael, this stranger's son, 2 days into knowing he existed. Michael stepped forward. "I'll do it. You don't even know me." "I know enough. You're my father. Margaret's my mother. Daniel's my brother. That's family. Your daughters would understand. Sarah, especially. She's got your stubborn streak, apparently. Genetic. Even without being raised near you." Harold's chest squeezed. 3 sons, all willing to give him pieces of themselves. "Why?" he asked the room. "Why save someone who failed you all?" Daniel sat on the bed's edge. "Because failing doesn't mean ending. Mom taught us that every October, bringing me pictures of you. Your father's still learning, she'd say. Some people need more time. 30 years is more than time. It's a lifetime. It's practice," Robert said. "For getting it right eventually." Harold looked at each face. Daniel, gray-haired and tired. Robert, protective and gentle. Michael, familiar yet foreign. Emma, bright with impossible hope. The Chens, choosing to stay when they could leave. Betty stood by the door, guardian of secrets, keeper of promises. Michael does the donation, Harold said finally. Least risk to everyone. Dad, Daniel started. It's decided, Michael nodded. When? Tomorrow, if possible, Robert said. His numbers won't hold much longer. They started making calls, surgical schedules, pre-op tests, paperwork, the room filled with purpose, everyone with a task. Harold dozed, dreamed of Margaret Young, before everything broke, woke to find Daniel beside him, reading his journal again. February 9th, 2050. Daniel read aloud. Daniel would be 44 today, same age I was when I threw him out. How did I become my father? How do I stop? Harold reached for the journal. Daniel let him take it. You did stop, Daniel said. Today. You stopped. The surgery was scheduled for 6 a.m. Harold made them all go home, rest. Only Daniel refused. They sat in the dark eyes. Machines beeping, October wind rattling windows. Tell me about the building, Harold said. Daniel talked. About sustainable design, about housing people who'd been thrown away, about making beautiful things from broken pieces. His hands moved when he talked, architect gestures. But underneath it, Harold could see the boy who'd learned to measure twice, cut once. I kept everything you taught me, Daniel said. Even when I hated you, I kept it. I'm sorry. I know. No, you don't. You don't know how many nights I drove to Boston, sat outside your apartment, how many times I picked up the phone, how many letters I wrote but couldn't send. Mom saved them. The letters, they're in the attic. Harold's throat closed. She saved everything, except herself. She gave everything to everyone else and saved nothing for herself. They sat with that truth. Somewhere down the hall, someone's monitor alarmed, feet ran, life and death in real time. I need you to do something, Harold said. Anything. If I don't make it, Dad, listen. If I don't make it, take care of Michael. He's going to blame himself. Don't let him. You're going to make it. Maybe. Probably. But if I don't, the house is yours. All of you. Turn it into something. Make noise in it again. Daniel's hand found his. We will. And Daniel, find out if Margaret has more good days. Be there for them, even if she doesn't remember you. Everyone. Morning came gray and cold. They wheeled Harold to pre-op at 5:30. Michael was already there, gowned, IV in place. Scared? Harold asked. Terrified. Good. Means you're sane? They lay on gurneys side by side. Father and son, strangers and family. Tell me about boat building, Harold said. Michael talked about wood grain and water, about joints that held against storms, about crafting things meant to survive violence. Harold listened and heard himself in every word. This son he'd never known had become him anyway. Genetics or fate or cosmic joke didn't matter. The anesthesiologist arrived. Ready? Harold looked through the glass doors. His family pressed against them. Daniel, Robert, Emma, both Chens, Betty, everyone who mattered, everyone who'd lied, everyone who'd chosen love over fear eventually. Ready? The mask came down. Sweet chemical smell. The world went soft. Last thought before the Black Margaret at their wedding, whispering, We're going to make it, Harold Mitchell, against all odds. We're going to make it. Harold woke to arguing. Told you not to all be here at once. Just want to see him. Policy clearly states he opened his eyes. The room was full, fuller than before. Daniel, Robert, Emma, the Chens, Betty, Michael in a wheelchair with the bandages around his middle. and 2 teenage girls who looked like Michael, who looked like Harold. "These are my daughters," Michael said. "Sarah and Maggie." The younger one, Maggie, stepped forward. "You're our grandfather." Harold's throat was too dry. Daniel provided water. Apparently, she studied him with serious eyes. "You build things. Used to. Could you teach me?" Harold looked at this granddaughter he'd never known existed, saw Margaret's determination in her jaw, his own stubbornness in her stance. "Sunday mornings," he said. "Bring Emma. She needs to learn too." The older girl, Sarah, hung back. "This is weird." "Everything about this is weird," Emma said. "That's what makes it family." Harold's incision hurt. Deep ache that meant healing. Michael's too. Probably worse, they'd taken more from him. "Thank you," Harold said to Michael. "It's already working. Your numbers are improving." "That's not what I'm thanking you for." Michael understood, nodded. A commotion in the hallway. Everyone turned. Margaret appeared in the doorway, pushed in a wheelchair by a St. Mary's aide. She was wearing the blue dress, hair pinned up, lipstick on. "Is this the Mitchell room?" she asked. "Mom." Daniel stepped toward her. She looked at him blankly, then past him to Harold. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere. Maggie." She wheeled herself to his bedside, shooing others away, took his hand like it was the most natural thing. "They said you had the surgery. New kidney from Michael." "Who's Michael?" Harold's chest tightened. But then Margaret winked. Actually winked. "I'm kidding. I remember. Sometimes. Right now. This minute. I remember." She looked around the room. "All my boys. All my girls. Everyone here." Everyone," Harold confirmed. "Good. That's good." She laid her head on his shoulder, careful of the bandages. "Harold." "Yeah, let's go home. Soon. Promise, promise." She was asleep in seconds. The room stayed quiet, everyone watching Harold and Margaret, this couple who'd broken everything and somehow still survived. Harold looked at his family. Broken, rebuilt, expanded. 3 sons who'd saved him in different ways, grandchildren he was just meeting, in-laws who'd traveled their own journey to this room. Outside, October rain started again. Inside, Margaret breathed against his shoulder, present for this moment, this impossible moment of everyone together. Harold closed his eyes, felt his new kidney working, cleaning his blood with Michael's cells, felt Daniel's hand on his ankle, a small anchor, heard Robert explaining something medical to his parents, Emma and Michael's daughters comparing colleges, the sound of family, messy, complicated, painful family. Margaret stirred, whispered something only he could hear. "We made it, Harold. All of us. We made it. For once." Harold Mitchell had nothing to argue about. 6 months later, Harold's kitchen table was covered in sawdust, not from neglect, from use. Emma's hands guided the plane along pine board, shavings curling like ribbon. Michael's daughter Maggie measured twice, pencil behind her ear like Harold used to wear it. Sarah read measurements from Harold's old blueprints, the ones for a gazebo he'd designed but never built. "Corner's not square," Harold said, checking with his level. "Close enough," Emma countered. "No such thing as close enough in carpentry." "There is in family," Margaret said from her chair by the window. She was having a good day. 3rd one this week. The new medication helped. Or maybe having everyone around helped. She'd moved back home in January, against medical advice but with Betty's promise to help monitor. Daniel and Robert had rented the Henderson place next door, close enough to help but far enough to have privacy. Michael came up from Boston weekends, bringing his daughters. The house that had been silent for 30 years now overflowed with arguments about joint angles and wood grades. "The gazebo needs to be done by next week," Robert reminded them. entering with coffee. "Oh, why the rush?" Harold asked. "You know why." Harold did know. Daniel's last round of chemo was Monday. They'd planned a celebration for afterward, assuming there was something to celebrate. The doctors were optimistic the lymphoma had responded well, but Harold had learned not to trust optimism. Better to trust work, things you could measure, cut, build. "Grandpa, tell the story again," Maggie said, "about finding the letters." Harold had told it 12 times now, but she never tired of it. How he'd discovered Margaret's secret correspondence. How everything had unraveled and reformed in a single October week. "Your grandmother was smarter than all of us," he said, planing another board. "Knew the only way to get stubborn men to change was to force their hands." "She faked her death," Sarah said. "That's not smart. That's crazy." "Same thing sometimes," Margaret said from her chair. She was knitting, muscle memory intact, even when other memories fled. "Love makes you crazy. Ask your grandfather about the time he drove to California just to sit in his truck." 3 times, Harold admitted, to 2007 and 2009. Daniel looked up from the blueprint. "You never told me 2009? "You were getting married. Sat outside City Hall. Saw you and Robert in your suits. Wanted to go in. Why didn't you? Same reason I never did anything. Fear, dressed up as principals." Robert's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned. "It's Mom." Mrs. Chen had taken to texting daily since the surgery. She and Dr. Chen had extended their stay, then extended it again. They were currently at a bed and breakfast in town, touring Vermont, but really rebuilding their relationship with Robert. "She wants to bring lunch." "Tell her yes," Harold said. "Her dumplings are better than mine." "You don't make dumplings." "Exactly." The gazebo took shape piece by piece. Harold's kidney, Michael's kidney, worked perfectly, cleaning his blood, keeping him alive to teach his granddaughters the difference between crosscut and ripsaw. Betty arrived with a chocolate cake and news. Janet called. "The Thompsons want to buy the Henderson place." "It's not for sale," Daniel said. "We're renting it for now, but Harold could buy it, combine the properties." Harold set down his hammer. "I'm 83 years old. What would I do with 2 properties? Leave them to your family, all of them?" Harold looked around the kitchen. 3 sons, 3 granddaughters, friends who'd become family, Margaret humming at her knitting, present for this moment. "Maybe," he said. "Definitely," Margaret said without looking up. "Buy it. Build something. That connecting structure you designed in 1980s. Harold stared. "You remember that?" "I remember everything that matters. Sometimes." The gazebo went up on Sunday. Everyone helped, even Margaret, directing from her chair, telling them they were doing it wrong in the way only she could manage. "The crossbeam's crooked," she announced. Harold checked with his level. Perfect horizontal. "It's straight, Maggie." "Not to my eyes." "Your eyes are 82 years old." 83. "Thank you very much." They'd had their punt anniversary last week. Small party, just family. Margaret had been clear for the whole day, remembered their wedding, their first dance. The way Harold had stepped on her feet. "I never stepped on your feet." "Twice? During Moon River, I had bruises." Daniel laughed. "Dad can't dance. Your father can do many things. Dancing isn't one of them." They raised the final beam as the sun set, 8 people lifting together, sliding it into joints Harold had cut. It fit perfectly. No gaps, no forcing, just wood meeting wood the way it was meant to. Emma drove the last screw. The gazebo stood complete. October light filtering through the latticed roof. "It's beautiful," Michael said. "It's functional," Harold corrected. "Beauty's just what happens when you do things right." Robert had brought champagne premature. given Daniel's last treatment was tomorrow, but hope demanded toasting. To family, Robert offered. To secrets, finally toasted, Daniel added. To forgiveness, said Mrs. Chen, surprising everyone. To Margaret, Harold said, who saved us all by letting us think we were saving each other. Margaret raised her juice glass. Medication made alcohol dangerous. To second chances, and third and fourth, however many it takes. They drank as darkness fell. Harold's new kidney processed the champagne efficiently, Michael's sacrifice working exactly as intended. I need to tell you all something, Daniel said. Everyone turned. Robert's hand found Daniel's immediately. The cancer's gone. Yes, yesterday's scan was clear. I didn't want to say until... His voice broke. Until I was sure it was real. The kitchen exploded. Emma screaming, jumping on her father. The Chens crying. Betty pulling out another cake from somewhere. Did she travel with backup cakes? Harold stayed seated. His chest was doing the thing again, but not the bad thing. The other thing. The feeling he'd forgotten existed until this week in October. Complete, bone-deep, unconditional joy. Margaret's hand found his. Still warm, still steady when she was present. We did it, she whispered. Did what? Made it through all of us? Broken, but here. Harold looked at his family. Daniel and Robert kissing while Emma pretended to be disgusted by Michael helping his daughters clean up, teaching them the way Harold should have taught him. The Chens taking photos, finally having memories worth preserving. Yeah, Harold said. We made it. Margaret's grip loosened. Her eyes went vague. The window closing again. Who are all these people? She asked. Family, Harold said. All of them. Every single one. She nodded, satisfied without understanding. Returned to her knitting, humming something from 1963. Later, after everyone had gone home or to bed, Harold sat alone in the gazebo. The October wind was cold, but clean. His kidney. Michael's kidney thrummed with purpose. Footsteps on gravel. Daniel appeared with 2 cups of coffee. Can't sleep. Haven't been able to since the diagnosis, Daniel admitted. They sat in silence. Father and son sharing darkness, finally comfortable with quiet. I love you, Dad. I know. No, you don't. You know I forgave you. That's different. I need you to know I love you. Present tense, active verb, not past, not conditional, now. Harold's throat closed. I love you too. I know. How you let Michael save you. You could have died prideful. You chose to live humble. The gazebo creaked in the wind, new wood settling into permanence. Build me something, Harold said. What? Design me something. A building. Put the Mitchell name on something that matters. The whole company has your name. Our name. Build something with our name. Daniel pulled out his phone, showed Harold a design. A community center, mixed use, sustainable, beautiful, when groundbreaking next month was going to surprise you. Harold studied the plans. Good bones, solid structure, room for families to grow. Perfect, he said. They sat until dawn, planning, arguing about load-bearing walls, finding their way back to each other through the language of building. When the sun rose, Margaret stood in the kitchen window, watching them, clear or confused. Harold couldn't tell, didn't matter. She was there, they all were. Still broken, still here, still family. Disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction, created solely for entertainment purposes. Inspired by universal themes of family reconciliation and forgiveness, the narrative does not condone, encourage, or promote any form of harmful behavior, including family estrangement or medical deception. All characters and events are products of imagination. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. Medical situations depicted are fictional and should not be considered accurate medical advice. The story aims to explore complex family dynamics and the possibility of healing across generations through storytelling.